we're sitting in front of my 54 corner bowfront tank that has my shell dwellers in it. These are an African cichlid that live and breed in shells and raise their fry in shells. But that's not the focus of today's video. Today's video is about how to have a successful planted tank, or at least what works for me. So in this video we'll go over light, substrate, water changes, temperature, and fertilizers. So there's several ways you can achieve success with a planted tank. If you're a beginner, low tech is the way you're going to want to start out. That is a not too powerful of a light. Substrate's about the same. Fertilizers will come into play in a high tech. And then you've got, of course, your CO2 injection and all of that. And also in this video we'll go across some of the problems that I've had and some problems that can occur in trying to keep a planted tank. So we'll go around and we'll look at some of the tanks, explain to you what went right, what's going wrong in some of them, and how to fix it if it does go wrong. One of the main things that I've found to have success is to feed your plants at the roots. Now, whether that be a planted aquarium soil, whether that be a dirted aquarium or the Wallstad method, your plants will do better if you feed them at the roots. Now, you can also achieve this by using sand and root tabs, but I find it better to put a sustainable substrate down that you don't have to mess with, that's not constantly fluctuating, and that can provide your plants the nutrients it needs. So we'll move over to the 40 long here, and I'll explain to you what I used for that and why I think it is successful. So this is my 40 long. As you can see, the top layer of substrate is sand. Underneath I have a mix of Fluval stratum, Eco Complete, Fluorite Red, and then there's also some potting soil that I used to add extra nutrients. And then I locked all those nutrients in with a nice thick layer of sand. The light I have on here is Hygger 24/7, which for a low-tech tank and for the price, I think does quite well. Now this light does have a built-in timer which I use, which seems to be achieving what I want it to. As you can see, there is a little bit of algae going on, but that is to be expected with still a fairly new setup. Now, the more established and the longer your setup goes for, the more balanced it will become. Now, this has been going for a few months now, so it is getting better and better as time goes on. This is also an aquarium that I have no filter on. I run no filter on this at all. And I do my water changes roughly once a week. And that's really all I do, other than trimming and replanting. All I do is water changes and feed the fish. I use no fertilizers other than what's under the soil in my aquariums at all. At least not right now. So let's move on to a tank that has maybe a few more problems, and I will tell you what I would change about it if I wanted to correct that problem. So this here is my 90-gallon aquarium, and as you can see, there is a lot of algae. But other than that, the plants themselves are very healthy and doing very well. This dwarf sage carpet that is growing quite long filled in incredibly fast because of the substrate I used, which is my typical mix that I explained earlier. Now, the reason I am getting all of this algae is because, while you can't see it right now because it's dark and nighttime, there is a window behind this, and it is getting way too much natural light that is upsetting the balance of this tank. Now, what I am going to do here soon, which I didn't want to do, is to black out that window. And that should alleviate the problem of any algae. I'll remove the algae and it shouldn't come back. Moving on, at the 75 over here we have the same problem. As you can see, the plants are very healthy, doing very well, but we have a good deal of algae because, again, there's a window behind this tank too. And if you'll notice, not a lot of algae over here, but quite a bit over here, and that's because that window is right shining in to that side of the aquarium. So again, I'm gonna black out that window here soon, and that should alleviate that problem. Now over here, is a tank that is perfectly balanced. This is my 20-gallon long, and this is my oldest setup. Now, I virtually do nothing to this aquarium. I rarely do water changes. All I typically do is wash the inside and outside of the glass and trim plants when necessary. But as you can see, no algae. Plants are perfectly healthy. And this is what happens when you get a perfectly balanced tank. On this tank is also the Hygger 24/7 Planet Tank Light, which is doing an excellent job. Now, I'm not sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form. I did pay full price for these. But for the price and for what I'm trying to achieve, these work out nicely. For a substrate in here, this is fluorite black and fluval stratum. The fluval stratum is only in the back where the stem plants are. What I forgot to explain was on these tanks, the light is a Walmart shop light. So $30 shop light on here. And this is actually a shop light that came out of my shop when they upgraded the lighting. So those are just some of my aquariums and the problems that I'm having with them. But the thing is I know how to fix those problems. Some of the most important things you can have is consistency. So having your lights on a timer, dialing that in until you're getting good growth and minimal algae. In the beginning, you're gonna get algae. It's inevitable. Your biggest friend will be water changes. Usually in the first week, I do them almost daily, if not daily, just to get the extra excess nutrients out of the water column. Especially when your plants are just trying to get established, growing roots, really starting to uptake the minerals and pollutants in the water. So water changes are your friend. Having a timer on your lights is your friend. The plants want consistency. So if you're just turning your lights on at a certain time every day, inevitably you're going to miss it. You're going to throw your plants out of whack. So one of the most important things you can have is consistency with your lighting. Now you can get to a point like on the 20 long where you're not doing water changes all the time, or hardly ever. But you have to know when your tank is in balance and not to mess with it too much. Now as far as chasing water parameters, you need to work with what you got. Having consistent water parameters is far more important than having the right parameters. If you're constantly chasing it, the right parameters by adding chemicals and they're constantly fluctuating, it's not healthy for the ecosystem and it's not healthy for your fish. So it's better to find what works with the water that you are working with. Now I live on the lake, pretty much in Michigan, so my water is going to be different from somebody who lives somewhere else. plants that work for me might not work for you. There are certain plants that I try to grow and they just don't work out. So it's better just to find out what works in your water by trial and error and grow those. You'll find it a lot more enjoyable than constantly trying to figure out what is wrong. If you get a plant, you try it a couple times, and it just doesn't seem to want to grow, and you have other plants that are doing well, what I do is I grow what works. Like I can't seem to get Java fern, other than I have one Windelove Java fern that seems to be doing fine. Regular Java fern I cannot get to grow. I don't know what it is. But it doesn't work, so I just try to focus on growing something else. But find what works. Feed your plants at the roots. Consistency in your lighting. You get that dialed in, those things dialed in, and then you will have a successful plant and aquarium. Obviously, feeding your plants at the roots with an epiphyte plant, like say Java fern or Anubias, or maybe Bobitus, or any of the other epiphyte plants that don't send roots down into the soil or substrate. That's going to be a different case. Maybe you do have to add some fertilizer into the water column. But I would also suggest to keep that routine, to keep that consistent, if that's the route you wanted to go. I seem to always have algae when I use it. It doesn't work for me. But not everything's going to work for everybody. Now if you get algae, and it's inevitable that you will if you do this for any period of time, don't get too upset. It's not the end of the world. Algae is not harmful, it is just ugly. It's just another plant. There are several ways to deal with it, and maybe I'll make a dedicated video just to dealing with algae. Some of it you can manually remove. You can do blackouts. There are ways to deal with it. So don't get discouraged. Everybody who's kept a planted tank has dealt with algae. So those are some of the tips that I have. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Anything you'd like me to cover more, if you have a problem that you would like an answer to, leave it in the comments below. And I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. I'm sure there's some things that I've missed. So I wish you success in your planted aquarium. The channel has over 300 subscribers now in just about 2 months, and I think that is awesome. Thank you to everybody who is watching and supporting the channel. And here's the 300 more. Will be demonetization in no time. So we'll end out this video with some shots from a few of the different aquariums this time. Don't forget to like, share these videos out, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Pretty sure I fixed that. If not, let me know. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. you do get algae, which it's inevitable if you do this for long enough that you will, it is not the end of the world. You don't have to scrap the whole tank. It is fairly easily corrected and removable. And I didn't turn on my light for that whole thing.